Welcome to Cake on Tuesday, where we spotlight the rule breakers, the underdogs who refuse to listen when everyone said it won't work. I'm Elizabeth Bieniek, and for the next 20 minutes, we're diving into another disruptive innovation story that proves sometimes the craziest ideas change everything. Today's guest is Jon Eberle, a chiropractic biophysics practitioner. With formal training in accounting and finance, psychology, anatomy, and chiropractic, Jon is passionate about helping people achieve optimal health across all dimensions, exploring the interweaving of mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual health. Combining age-old wisdom with the latest technology and research, his practice helps people become the most optimized versions of themselves. He's also someone I visit regularly to help keep me aligned. Jon, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right. So I want to dive into what you're passionate about in your field, what sets your soul on fire about what you do every day. But first, can you tell us a little bit about the chiropractic field and why what you do is unique?
Yeah. So chiropractic, the base philosophy is that we don't treat the patient, that we remove interference in the system so that people can heal naturally, and not just heal naturally, but stay healthy and maintain health. And so what we do differently is we combine therapeutic exercise, so in the mirror image, adjustments, and traction. So what that means is it's not just the adjustment. So you're not just coming into the office, laying on a table and getting adjusted. Now there's a lot of power in that, but it's not the only thing that we do. So we're combining a whole engineering approach to repairing, re-engineering, and then maintaining a healthy spine. And what I love about that is that people get better predictably. So it's not kind of a, hope and pray that they get better. We can predict, how people get better, when they're going to get better, and have really good results. The other thing I love about it is that we get to spend more time with patients. So they're not just in the office for a few minutes. They're in the office for sometimes maybe longer than they want to be, but generally between like 30 minutes to an hour. And we get to spend more time getting to know each other and talking about things that aren't just like so narrowly in the chiropractic side, but like get to really know them and find out how they're doing life and what we can do to help.
Treating the whole human, which is how I got to know you.
That's right. Yeah.
So you mentioned something about it's predictable in that you have a process, you have a system, and you know it works, it's repeatable. Yet at the same time, one of the things I love about talking to you, Jon, is every time I talk to you, I learn something new. And every time I talk to you, I think you're learning something new because you're always learning and you're always exploring. So you're combining this sort of proven methodology that works, yet also always looking at the latest research, what's new, and learning more. What is that ideal juxtaposition of those two in your practice?
Yeah, so the technique is called Chiropractic Biophysics. So it's a postgraduate program within chiropractic. I always say not a lot of people do it because it takes a lot of work and there's a lot to learn. There's a lot of equipment involved. And like you were saying, there's a real push for those of us that do chiropractic biophysics to continue learning. It's the only technique in chiropractic that continues to perform randomized controlled trials on a regular basis to improve what we do. So it's not attached to a static technique. It is always developing. And even things that were fundamental in the technique maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago are always on the table to be changed if we find a better way. And so I really appreciate the guys on the research team, the Chiropractic Biophysics research team, because they're always updating us with new research and getting us involved in new research. Our office provides case studies and data for the research team. So it's a constantly evolving technique for a constantly evolving human existence. And anytime anything new gets put into the system, we want to have that immediately available versus a lot of healthcare approaches. It sometimes can take 10, 20, 30 years for it to filter through the education system and then into the practice. So we like to be immediately responsive to new information. And it's fun that way. Right? It's just so much more fun that way. Yeah.
Well, yeah, you're constantly learning. You're not just doing the same thing every day.
Exactly. Yeah.
You talked too about looking at mental health and emotional health and spiritual health. Is that part of the mindset in chiropractic biophysics, or is that more taking your personal approach to health and applying that to your practice?
That's a really good question. I've thought about that before. I would say that that's more a personal approach. It's not part of the technique, but I think it pairs well. Chiropractic biophysics it's so engineering based, right? So it's a data, it's numbers, it's paying attention to the physics of the body. So it can start to get a little not mechanistic in the sense of like leaving out the person, but you can start to see the body as a machine. And it does take into account it's a dynamic system, but the person behind that machine or behind that dynamic system is so important, because when they're not in the office, we don't know what they're going to do. We don't know if they're laying on the couch all day. We don't know if they're sitting at a desk. We don't know if they're, driving a car. We don't know if they're stressed. We don't know if, there's so many different things we can't see when they're not here. And so getting to know the person on a mental, emotional, spiritual level allows us to really get to know the dynamic system that this person's living in. Like, what's their family life like? What's their work life like? What do they do for recreation? And all that information brought together into this really amazing research-based engineering system allows us to get results so much faster. There's so much less trial and error, and there's so much less failure in the process when we know so much about that person.
Mm. You mentioned stress. How much does stress play a role in this? And I'm thinking the answer is going to be a lot, because I'm just thinking about times that you see a certain consistent pattern in people I know. I've got my issues and you're familiar with what my spine does, but there's times I come in and you'll say, oh, this is different. What's going on? How much is stress a factor in that?
Yeah, it's so much. The last conversation I had with my last patient this morning was all about that. It's, his, anxiety, where he's holding tension in the body, old stories, old patterns, and how he deals with that stress. And it's so much about the way forward, the way to actually make a permanent change is removing those stressors. And I think everybody pretty much knows that, but then they don't really have any strategies to pair the physical solutions with those stress reduction solutions. And so the more I get to know that person, I can throw things out and throw suggestions out. And after having done this for over 10 years now, there's some good ways to do that really are proven to work, that aren't difficult, just little pattern interrupters that help reduce. If you can't reduce the amount of stress, you can at least reduce your relationship to it. And I think that you see that happen in the body. A lot of times people they'll get worried because they're in the middle of an intense care plan with us, and they'll get worried because they're going on vacation and they're worried about not coming into their visits, that they're going to get worse. And it's like like what I always say is, well, if you go on vacation, you do it right, you relax, you're going to come back better than you left, because stress reduction, like, we'll feel it in your body. So it's one of the main components of what keeps people in these patterns that make their bodies tense or make their bodies not function properly.
Okay, I have to ask then, how do you practice what you preach? Because there's a lot of entrepreneurs that listen to this show, and there's a lot of people who are in it, like yourself. They're leading a business, but you have the added challenge of not only do you lead the business, you also are the lead practitioner. So you're very hands-on in this. How do you find that balance for yourself? And if you have any systems you want to share with us?
Yeah. Well, I'll admit I didn't for the first 5 years in practice. I was very stressed out. So,
like many entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I'm very glad that I made it through that, but it's still an active practice, right? Like, I'm practicing chiropractic, but I'm also practicing how to continue to manage this stuff. I also have a 3-year-old, and I love him to death. He's wonderful. You know him. He's a great kid, but it's a stressful time. And so, yeah, I think accountability is probably the biggest one. So I'm in a men's group. We meet every Wednesday, and we ask those hard questions that, like, how are you doing? Right? Is like one of the main questions we ask, and we check in. And so accountability with people that really care about you, and being vulnerable and open with those people. If you are stressed out, if your things aren't going well, and just having that group of people help to reframe stories around the stress, and, provide help. When you need help, ask for help. If you need help, don't try to do it all by yourself. We're stronger in community. So thankfully, 3 years ago, I was able to hire another chiropractor who's also advanced certified in chiropractic biophysics. And so I do own the practice and quote unquote lead clinician, that we practice side by side. So we take care of each other. I get it. He adjusts me, I adjust him. Whenever he can tell things are really weighing down on me, like we check in with each other and we help each other out. So yeah, I think it's you can't do anything alone. I think it's really important to have that community around you to, and I've gotten to know a lot of patients like you and your husband so well that sometimes the patients see it and they check in with me, like ask me how I'm doing. I'm like, okay, good reminder. Because it's the kind of community we've built, that we can be honest with each other and be human.
Right. Yeah. You mentioned your son, who is adorable. I've had the privilege of seeing you go from that transition of before being a parent to now being a parent. As you go through that process, for a lot of us, I mean, as you know, we've got 3 kids, and it definitely impacts a lot of our life and our approach and how we view the future. How's that transition for you in your business? And as your priority shifted a bit, how do you define success for yourself now in your business? And is it different from when you started out? I'm assuming the answer is yes.
Oh, totally. Like couldn't be more different. I'd say in the beginning, it was, 10 and a half years ago, it was survival, just get the bills paid and everything was good. Right. And then it shifted into survival wasn't a problem anymore, but it was like growth, right? Like how do you grow this business? And it's easy to focus on the revenue side, like more revenue, no matter what expenses I have to spend, just grow the revenue. That shifted into more of a balanced business approach and reaching out for help with entrepreneurial type business. I went to school, did corporate finance, worked at big consulting firms. I knew big corporate finance stuff, but running a small business is like an entirely different universe. And so going from thinking I know everything to realizing I could use some help, and then like you said, then having the 3-year-old, it was actually the biggest blessing I could have ever asked for, because it forced me to take time away from the grind and the hustle and think more clearly and spend more time. I think like most business owners, I tend to be act and then think. And I don't spend a lot of time on the plan phase, and I spend a lot of time on the act phase. And for my growth as a person, as a dad, and also as a business owner, I had to shift some of that muscle work, that effort work, from staying up late till 2:00 in the morning and like feeling like I need to stay busy, to really thinking and getting to know myself and knowing what my real goals are. So yeah, I think my goals have shifted from trying to stay busy all the time to trying to do the right things, the things that actually matter, that move the needle. And ultimately spend more time with my son, because I mean he's so fun to hang out with, and he doesn't understand why we can't hang out all the time. And so and some days I don't either. Like we should, but yeah. So just wanting to for the first time in my life, like really wanting and having a reason to have balance.
How do you find joy in the process? So this is Cake on Tuesday. The whole name Cake on Tuesday comes out of celebrating all of the milestones, the good, the bad, and the ugly, the hard things along the way. And that's what motivates us and keeps us excited. How do you personally, or for your team, or for your clients, how do you find a way to celebrate those milestones and find joy in the journey?
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways I can answer that question. I mean, clinically, the way we do it is we do re-exams along the way. We want the patient to see that they're getting better. So X-ray and objective techniques are a big part of the technique. So yeah, when we do these re-exams, it's a big deal. When people's spines change, we want to, big high fives and because it's not just us, it's the patient that also has to engage in the process. So yeah, I'm really proud of them when they do. And it's we're kind of in this together. So yeah, so I would say doing those intermittent exams, not just coming in and going through the motions, but checking in with them. Yeah. From a business perspective, we could probably do a better job of checking in with ourselves and celebrating successes. And it tends to be, I think most people could probably relate to me on this, like we hit one milestone and it's like, okay, cool, we've already got the next one planned and we're ready to go on the next one. So it takes time to pause and really truly celebrate, but we're getting better at it. Yeah, that's a good question. It's something that I would think that we'll always get better at as we go, and be grateful for the people that come in. The people are the best part of the job. The paperwork is not so much, but the people, the patients, I mean, the relationships we build, it's just, Yeah, we get to come in, look at the schedule, and just be excited about everybody we get to see during the day. It's really great. So yeah, yeah, it's a
That's
really
a cool
great.
way to look
It's a
at it.
Yeah, it's like which of my friends are coming in today to come see us for care, right? And we're not focused on. Yeah, I think a better answer to the question is we're not really focused on numbers like dollars and what were collections and stuff like that during the day. We're focused on clinical results, and so it's easy to stay in joy when people come in and they're excited because they're getting better, or they're excited because they can pick their kids up now, or they're excited because when they turn their head to change lanes in their car, they have no pain, and like that stuff is fun.
Doesn't hurt. Yeah.
It doesn't hurt. Yeah, and they can feel themselves and see themselves getting better. It's like there's so much in that is just it's such a beautiful experience to watch people grow. And a lot of times when people come in initially, they're in pain, they're hurting, they don't feel good, they're kind of grumpy, it might not be the nicest to us, right on the front side. And as we've gone, we've learned and then it's not that they're mean people, it's they're in pain. And I know when I'm in pain, I'm not the best version of myself. And so to see them evolve from being like kind of grumpy on the first visit, it's not everybody, but some people, and then like 18 visits in or whatever it is that we're doing their first re-exam, it's like they're an entirely different human being. It's just fun. It's fun to watch people grow.
Interesting. I didn't think about that perspective of a lot of businesses. You're dealing with somebody, and if something goes wrong, then they get grumpy. But people come in grumpy to you.
Yeah. Or they come in and a lot of times, not everybody, some people come in for wellness care, which is great. But a lot of times people come in and like they're in a situation like they don't want to be here on their first visit. They feel like they kind of have to be. And so the goal there is to not be obnoxious and like tell them they need to be happy or whatever, but to meet them where they're at and then maintain that level of like guiding them back to where they want to be, to their joy.
What are you most excited about next? Where the business is going, what you personally want to learn? What's exciting to you?
Yeah, right now, the exciting thing for me right now is growing our team. We've kept the team relatively lean and small. Managing people has not been my strongest skill set over time. So I tend to do most of the work because I have a hard time slowing down and like conveying knowledge to others and then
I think
letting
a lot
them
of
fail.
entrepreneurs can relate to that.
Yeah. So that's not nobody's going to be like, whoa, that's crazy. I can't believe that. Yeah, it's been tough for me. I would say maybe even more tough for me, but I don't know if that's true or not. And so what I'm really excited about this point is we're to a point in the practice where we've kind of hit a point where if I keep the team lean and mean like it is right now, we're not really going to grow. And so what I'm excited and terrified about is we want to grow the team quite a bit and potentially look at some satellite locations and maybe even bring on some new services. So I get to flex some muscles that I've been a little scared of flexing by building a team and really focusing on being a good manager and slowing down and taking time with people and really, and not just being a people business about the patients, but it being a people business about my team and helping others come on board and have some success as well.
That's exciting. I didn't know that.
Yep.
So
I haven't told many people
along on this journey. I know. Well, it's going to go out to everybody now.
Right,
Everybody's
exactly.
going to know. So hopefully you told your team.
Yeah. They know.
So if people want to, that's good. If people want to follow along on this journey, if they're in Austin or Central Texas and they want to come and see you and experience this themselves, or if they want to learn some of the resources that you have mentioned through the conversation, where can they go?
Yeah, so our practice, it's precision chiropractic. There's actually a couple different precision chiropractors in Austin it's a conversation for another time, different podcast probably. But it's Precision Chiropractic ATX. We're out on West US Highway 290. We've got a cool team here. We have a big building full of all kinds of stuff, massage therapy. We even have a karate studio in the back of the building. So it's a cool space to come into. We do have a lot of patients come in from Houston, San Antonio, even Mexico and other places. So yeah, so come see us here in the office. But to learn more about CBP, which is fantastic, it's the technique that we follow. Idealspine.com has so much information about the research and about how we view the process of taking a spine from where it's at to the most optimum version of that. And it's a great landing page for finding a chiropractor or practitioner in anyone around the world's area that if they want to go and experience this type of care, they can find someone there in the doctor locator. I'm a huge nerd, so like I guess the thing I focus on the most there is all the research that's there. If you want to dig into that, it's fun. And a lot of it's written for the layperson. If you don't understand spinal anatomy and spinal biomechanics and everything, you'd still understand the language and be able to see the spine the way that we see the spine. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome resources there. Come check out Jon in person. Jon, thank you so much for being here on Cake on Tuesday.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining another Cake on Tuesday celebration of beautiful disruption. Please share it, review it, and find more innovative stories at podcast.cakeontuesday.com. I'm Elizabeth Bienyik. Be bold, stay curious. Now go have some cake.